Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everybody, for being here. My name's Todd Alexander, the winemaker for Force Majeure. As Eric mentioned, I used to be down south in California. I was at Bryant Family Vineyard for about 5 years, and I worked for Plump Jack and Cade before that. But I've been in Washington now for a decade, for 10 years. This guy's part of the reason that I noticed the wines from there originally. It's a pretty special place. There's a lot of really good wines coming out of there. You don't necessarily see them as much as you see some other things, but the terroir is there. It's really distinct. The quality is there. So for me, it was a big, interesting kind of challenge, and the idea of picking up after cutting my teeth at some really good places in California and heading north was really attractive. So we've been up there since 2014, and I have a few other projects, but Force Majeure has been my kind of main focal point. And Force Majeure is an estate winery with 3 different vineyards. We're only tasting one single wine from the lineup today. Here at the seminar, we got a couple of different wines for the 2 tastings you can try, but we have 18 acres planted in an area called Red Mountain, and then we have a small vineyard around the winery. The winery is actually located in the Walla Walla Valley on the Oregon side. And then we have another small project in another area about 15 minutes away, so 3 estate vineyards. And then this wine that we're tasting today is the only non-estate wine that we make. We started working with this vineyard in 2016. It's called SJR Vineyard. It's kind of straight behind the winery. There's our vineyard, then there's an orchard. On the other side of that is a road, and then there's this vineyard. And it's very different from the estate vineyards that we have for Force Majeure. This particular vineyard, SJR, is full on cobblestone soil, very rocky. If you've ever seen photos of it, it looks like Chateauneuf de Pape. And it's an alluvial fan. Basically, the whole area is all volcanic soil, but contrast this with our Red Mountain estate vineyard. The Red Mountain vineyard is a steep, rocky hillside, fractured basalt. This SJR vineyard is very flat. And the vines were planted in '07, so it's a young vineyard. Most things up there are young. We're not working with 100-year-old vines or 200-year-old vines, anything like that, but we do what we can. Hopefully we're laying groundwork for future generations. The wines that come out of that area, that cobblestone soil, they tend to be very savory. They're not super fruit-driven, not jammy. I do, in this wine, about 35% whole cluster, about 15% new French oak, larger format, and we leave it in barrel for about 16 months, typically. I would say, actually, another interesting thing about this particular wine is that it is a single block. I don't get the whole vineyard, so we're just getting fruit from this one particular block in the vineyard. So it's a very, very focused expression of that varietal and that place and that time. Whereas with the estate Syrah for Force Majeure, for example, we have a lot of different parcels of Syrah, so I'm able to pick things at different times, put a blend together later on. A lot of things to work with. This one's kind of one shot. That's the wine that year. 2019, cool vintage, one that I really liked. On the heels of vintages like 14 and 15 that were quite warm, 19 was, I thought it was great. If you farmed well in 19, you made good wine. I think in early October, there were 3 nights that got below freezing. I think it was October 8th, 9th, and 10th, something like that. And that kind of ended the season. So if you were hanging too much fruit Are you kind of behind the curve on your farming? You maybe didn't get the ripeness you wanted, but we had picked everything. I think we picked this vineyard probably the third week of September. So, yeah. What else?
Well, I think one thing that bears mentioning is the location that this is coming from and how identifiable the terroir is in the glass. When you get a glass of Syrah that is coming from the Rocks district of Milton Carleton in Oregon, or as Christophe would refer to it as the Stones, it is identifiable immediately. This is one of the most exciting locations for Syrah right now in the world. And while today we're focused on Force Majeure, the reality is that there are many new projects that are being developed there. One of the largest ones actually being headed up by Todd at this time to expose this terroir and to make these wines more available around the world.
Yep, yeah, it's an exciting place. If you ever get a chance to come out, open invitation, come check it out. So anyway, I'm not going to take too much time. I'll give it to Christophe, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll be upstairs. So,
beautiful.
Thank you.
I'll be there tasting.